I look at Beedrill and think, wow, that thing really likes to sting people. It's not even self-defense or a misunderstanding, it just likes it. That's where the idea for this video comes from. We're going to round up all the poking, piercing, stinging, stabbing, thrusting, jabbing, spearing moves, and then make a new ability that boosts the damage by 50% for the Pokemon using moves of that category. Let's get the name out of the way first. I have a practical approach to naming, since I'm more of a game mechanics and logistics kind of person. For these videos, I really try to make the hypotheticals and proposals something that would be as compatible as possible for real releases in the actual franchise and official media. If you want to borrow my hypotheticals for an unofficial project, go ahead and name it whatever you want. Really, go ham and call it Shanker or Heart-Seeking Death Spire. It's a mod or Romhack, it doesn't need to follow rules. Back to our hypothetical, ideally the ability name is clear enough, but not explicit enough to jack up the game's age rating. Calling it Impaler is clear, but could be seen as too violent or in some regions too reminiscent of controversial historical or current events. Abilities like this tend to have a naming pattern in the original Japanese versions, especially in recent years, and this habit has worked to make more abilities and move effects clearer when localized. So as long as it reasonably conveys the type of motion needed for the move category, can easily be translated, can fit a variety of Pokemon designs, and doesn't jack up the game rating, then I'll be satisfied. The golden rule here is novelty is temporary, clarity is forever. To do this, we can follow Pokemon's pattern of adjective plus appendage, like with Strong Jaw, Ganjo Ago, and Iron Fist, Tetsu no Kobushi. Or we can use a descriptive noun like the recent Sharpness, Hideaji, and Punk Rock abilities. After looking through the moves that fit this piercing move category, it's hard to narrow down just one body part since beaks, horns, stingers, and more appendages and objects can be used to stab. So let's go with the second option and use an aptitude-based name. Spearman doesn't really roll off the tongue, but Spearfighter is an option. I'm not sure how to actually say that accurately as a descriptor in Japanese though. A Japanese spear is yari, and the martial art is sojutsu, art of the spear, but Spearfighter seems like a total cop-out for me to go with. Perhaps we can go for something like surudoi or togata, which both refer to being pointy or pointed. Ideally, it's a word conjugated to be the form that means pointiness, like how we use sharpness as a descriptor for the ability sharpness. Another option, sentan, which means a few relevant things actually. The meaning relevant right now is the one that can be used like how we use the English word spearhead. It can be a literal tip or pointed end, the leading edge, or someone spearheading a movement, like a vanguard leading a platoon's charge. As anticlimactic as it sounds, I might have to honestly go the English words but Japanese route and call it Spearfighter, Vanguard, or Fensa. Similarly, in English, we can go with Fencer, Jouster, Lancer, Vanguard, or Dragoon. If you are a native Japanese speaker, or if you write and speak high-level Japanese, please tell me how this would probably be named in Japanese. Additionally, if you have experience with the ESRB or any other age rating authority, I'd love your advice in regards to a kid-friendly way to say that a Pokemon is extremely efficient at stabbing without getting into baby talk. As long as we strike a decent balance between penetration and poke, I'll be pleased. There's a ton of options, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to call the ability Piercer as a placeholder so we can move forward. Hopefully this keeps us focused on piercing, spearing, thrust type attacks as opposed to literally anything that could be pointy or sharp. I'm going to follow a similar format to my other video where I made a kicking ability. I've already curated moves that are relevant, so in the video we'll deliberate the moves that definitely should count the ones that somewhat count and the ones that shouldn't count. It may seem redundant to bring up moves that don't count, but since a fair amount of people push ideas based only on the English names and descriptions, I have to preemptively shut down these assumptions. You'd be surprised how many people look at something, make an assumption, treat that assumption as fact, then tell it to other people in full confidence without doing a 2-second Google search to double check it. A great example is people still arguing that Sucker Punch is a punching move. Check out this video for more on punching moves and localization. For this list, I'm still going to cover moves that were removed to Dexit, since they could always come back or appear in a spin-off. However, I will not be covering any Shadow moves, Z moves, Max moves, or G Max moves. Let's begin. Twin Needle. The user damages the target twice in succession by jabbing it with 2 spikes. This may also poison the target. An obvious 2-hit piercing move. Approved. Pin Missile. The user attacks by shooting sharp spikes at the target. This move hits 2 to 5 times in a row. Pin Missile is often described and depicted as a spray of spikes, needles, and pins. It can even spray from the hairs of bristly Pokemon like Zigzagoon and Jolteon. This doesn't quite line up with the type of piercing I mean. The move's multi-hit nature already benefits from the skill link ability or loaded dice item, so I don't feel too bad about not counting this one. Denied. Poison Sting. The user stabs the target with a poisonous stinger to inflict damage. This may also poison the target. This move is tough. As time has passed, the description sounds more and more like it has become more of an explicit stabbing attack than a spray of poison needles. If you go through the list of Pokemon that can use this move, nearly all of them have visible appendages to Poison Sting with, or they plausibly have a concealed stinger. The anime loves to show Poison Sting as a spray of poison needles, which is consistent with the Japanese name, Dokubari. Though those animation decisions might be for the sake of cost-effective animation and anime choreography. The manga also made Arbok's tail a stinger to be consistent with the move. It theoretically could be a nice early game option for poison-type Pokemon with Piercer. I'm going to call this one debatable. Doesn't matter for balance purposes, just not sure in terms of categorization. Peck. The target is jabbed with a sharply pointed beak or horn to inflict damage. Approved. Drill Peck. A corkscrewing attack that strikes the target with a sharp beak, acting as a drill. Approved. Horn Attack. The target is jabbed with a sharply pointed horn to inflict damage. It's a simple horn thrust. Approved. Horn Drill. The user stabs the target with a horn that rotates like a drill. The target faints instantly if this attack hits. It's a one-hit KO move. The effect of the move is instant KO, so there isn't a base power to boost by 50%. I'm not gonna do something like make it likelier to hit either. Let's just deny this one. Not applicable. Mega Horn. Using its tough and impressive horn, the user rams into the target with no letup. Approved. Poison Tail. The user hits the target with its tail. This move has a heightened chance of landing a critical hit and may also poison the target. Yes, people may argue this is a stab because it was Seviper's signature move for about 7 years, and quite a few depictions of Seviper showed it stabbing with the tail sometimes. Overall, it should be saved for when a tail swinging ability is made. Denied. Needle Arm. The user attacks by wildly swinging its thorny arms. This may also make the target flinch. This is a Dexited move, so some new players may not be familiar with it. Despite it being a spiky arm attack, it's more like swinging a bat full of nails at someone than it is piercing thrusts. Denied. Icicle Spear. The user attacks by launching sharp icicles at the target. This move hits 2 to 5 times in a row. This isn't a similar situation as Pin Missile. It's another multi-hit move that benefits from skill link ability or the loaded dice item. It's a launched spray of icy projectiles more than it is a piercing thrust or javelin toss. Also, this move is mostly trapped on ice types or on Pokemon that I don't really see getting this piercer ability. Denied. Ice Shard. The user flash freezes chunks of ice and hurls them at the target. This move always goes first. This is a nope for me. They're little pebbles of ice that vary in shape, not necessarily always sharp enough to puncture. The move simply isn't consistently performed in a compatible way. If there was ever a depiction of Ice Shard being used like a polearm or erupting from the ground, I'd say this was debatable, but I couldn't find that. Denied. Fling. The user flings its held item at the target to attack. This move's power and effects depend on the item. I can already hear it now. Fling should be affected when throwing something pointy. Nope. It's a complex and nuanced move with specific applications. Adding this would be adding unnecessary complexity. Also, why would you commit an ability slot and a move slot just to use Fling once in a battle? I'm all for extra choices in battle and extra options for players, but this is a lot of investment for a low payoff. Denied. Poison Jab. The target is stabbed with a tentacle, an arm, or the like, steeped in poison. This may also poison the target. In Japanese, it's Dokutsuri. Poison Stab. Approved. Stone Edge. The user stabs the target with sharpened stones. This move has a heightened chance of landing a critical hit. The Pokemon stabs with sharpened stones. Even the original Japanese explicitly says this is the case. The anime seems to be very inconsistent with its depiction of the move. Old depictions alternated between throwing a shower of sharp stones and stamping the ground to cause sharp stone spikes to pike the opponent from underfoot. The most recent animations from the games and anime seem to show the second method way more consistently now. With that in mind specifically, I'll allow it. Approved. Drill Run. The user crashes into the target while rotating its body like a drill. This move has a heightened chance of landing a critical hit. A variety of Pokemon tend to perform this by drill diving into their opponent, horn, beak, or hardened snout first. In the case of the Drillbur line, using their claws to form a piercing drill shape. Fortress, I can't explain how it does it. Maybe the cannons? I do have to concede that the move descriptions don't explicitly use stabbing or piercing words, not even in Japanese. However, drilling is a penetrative act, so I'm inclined to reason that this counts. Approved. Icicle Crash. The user attacks by crashing large icicles onto the target. This may also make the target flinch. Icicles are often pointy, and I get that it seems like this would count. But the move is performed mainly by generating ice in the air, then letting gravity do the work of crashing it down onto the opponent. The anime and game animations both depict it this way. It functions more like Rock Slide than it does a piercing thrust. Furthermore, it's almost exclusive to ice types, and of those ice types, I don't see this ability being compatible without unreasonably expanding their move pools or changing their biology. Denied. Horn Leech. The user drains the target's energy with its horns. The user's HP is restored by up to half the damage taken by the target. In Japanese, this move is stated to be a horn thrust into the opponent to steal their nutrients. I'm going to ignore the anime depiction that allows this to act as a ranged attack. It's likely a creative decision for practical animation and choreography. In the game, the move always makes direct contact. Approved. Fell Stinger. When the user knocks out a target with this move, the user's attack stat is boosted drastically. A sting is a piercing thrust. It's mainly learned by Pokemon that have visible or plausibly concealed appendages that could sting in this way. Approved. Precipice Blades. The user attacks opposing Pokemon by manifesting the power of land in fearsome blades of stone. It's basically Stone Edge in terms of execution method, as the Pokemon summons massive spikes of earth to hurt the opponent. Every depiction of the move involves the opponent being impaled from underfoot. Makes sense, a precipice is a steep rock face or cliff. The Japanese name Dangai no Tsurugi is arguably precipice or cliff blades. The only issue with this is that this move is Groudon's signature move, so no one else can use the move outside of gimmicky setups using Mimic or Metronome. We can't just give Groudon the new ability either. Its Drought ability is part of its kit, and what it does is parallel to Kyogre's Drizzle. Wait, this is actually a good thing. Kyogre learns Origin Pulse as a signature move. It's a pulse move boosted by the Mega Launcher ability, but since Kyogre can't get Mega Launcher ability, and because Mega Launcher Pokemon can only get Origin Pulse through unreliable gimmicks, it's only affected by the ability for consistency's sake. With that in mind, Precipice Blades being counted as a piercing move is necessary to strengthen the parallels with Kyogre. Approved. Smart Strike. The user stabs the target with a sharp horn. This attack never misses. That's it, nothing fancy. Approved. Bolt Beak. The user stabs the target with its electrified beak. This move's power is doubled if the user moves before the target. This is a signature move exclusive to, Zolt, which is why only Dracozolt and Arctozolt learn it. It is indeed a stab with an electrically charged beak. Approved. As a side note, this will make another nice parallel too. Fossils revived with Vish get Fish's Rend, a biting move that can get boosted by Dracovish's Strong Jaw ability. So to complete the parallel, perhaps Dracozolt's Hustle ability can be replaced with this new Piercer ability and allow it to spam a boosted Bolt Beak. Just an option. Branch Poke. The user attacks the target by poking it with a sharply pointed branch. It's almost like the first spears were big pointy sticks we used to pierce stuff with. Approved. False Surrender. The user pretends to bow its head, but then it stabs the target with its disheveled hair. This attack never misses. This underhanded attack works because Morgrim and Grimmsnarl have prehensile hair that can be formed and firmed up for stabbing attacks. Look at Morgrim's hair, it's shaped like a halberd or whatever that type of polearm is called. This is probably a case where a signature move is trapped on something that isn't getting the ability. Oh well. Approved. Meteor Assault. The user attacks wildly with its thick leak. The user can't move on the next turn because the force of the move makes it stagger. An extremely powerful thrust with a pointy, sturdy leak lance. Approved. Glacial Lance. The user attacks by hurling a blizzard-cloaked icicle lance at opposing Pokemon. It's the signature move of Ice Rider Calyrex, and probably trapped on it, but it's a lancing attack all the same, regardless of language. Approved. Barb Barrage. The user launches countless toxic barbs to inflict damage. This may also poison the target. This move's power is doubled if the target is already poisoned. In Japanese, it's Dokubari Senban, or Thousand Stingers. It's currently the exclusive signature move of the Quillfish family. Since it's a spray of needles from a poisonous orb Pokemon, I'm inclined to say no. Besides, what ability would we take off of the Quillfish family? They really like having Intimidate or Poison Point for defensive play, and Swift Swim is going to be really helpful to an offensive Overquill. Overquill is very stabby, but it doesn't seem to be very precise. Denied. Hyper Drill. The user spins the pointed part of its body at high speed to pierce the target. This attack can hit a target using a move such as Protect or Detect. Yeah, that's a very penetrative move. It's basically obligatory but trapped on the Dunsparce line. Approved. Ivy Cudgel. The user strikes with an ivy-wrapped cudgel. This move's type changes depending on the mask worn by the user, and it has a heightened chance of landing a critical hit. Yes, it looks like a strike with a pointy stick, but it's actually a swing from a spiky ogre club. Denied. As you can see, there are a lot of options existing for piercing moves. If such an ability were made, we would likely get new moves or Pokemon so that the piercing move category would have more coverage. Imagine getting something in the future like Billiard, the swordfish Pokemon. It's got a dexterous bill that it uses in combat when it's on guard. But outside of combat, we see schools of them playing billiards with stones underwater. Make a water-type move like Aqua Spear, slap it on that sucker, and we're good to go. With the moves out of the way, let's go over implementation for this piercer ability. Give it to Pokemon that have appendages or tools that would allow them to do piercing thrusts. Prioritize the Pokemon that already learn or could reasonably learn some of the moves we have gone over. If they have a pretty useless ability, or ideally a free ability 2 slot, that's even better. Let's use Beedrill as our main example. Beedrill is a good candidate for piercer ability. Thematically and functionally works because it's got 2 big forearm lance stingers. It's very coordinated and speedy with its stings. Spearing is its thing, and it's even called Spia in Japanese. As for its battle performance, I don't expect this ability to make Beedrill as good as its Mega. We're just giving it more options. Swarm ability is nice thematically for a bee, but the strategy relies on this frail Pokemon getting to low health to get a damage boost on an offensively mediocre attacking type that will often be too slow to even capitalize on. The hidden ability Sniper is more proactive, allowing you to deal more damage. However, fishing for crits is also inconsistent, even with high crit rate moves. Luckily for Beedrill, its second ability slot is wide open, and so it would be really easy to slot in this new ability. It gets Poison Jab and Fell Stinger right now. Let's allow it to regain access to Drill Run, as that was a good, super effective, high crit rate move to hit Steel, Rock, Fire, and Poison types. Add Smart Strike as a learnable move, because those Arm Lance Stingers are sufficient enough to use the move. It can be a decent way to hit things immune to Drill Run like Rock Flying types, or things immune to Poison Jab like Fairy Steel types. Return Twin Needle to the game, so that Beedrill has a compatible move to spam early game between its level 10 evolution and the learning of Poison Jab in the level 30s. Finally, just give it access to Mega Horn already. Even Goldeen has had Mega Horn since Generation 2, and look how stubby the horn is. Beedrill is a foot bigger than Goldeen for context. And don't try and tell me that its arm spears are the reason why, because Escavalier uses its own arm spears to perform the move. I hope this small case study helps demonstrate the selection and adjustment process for distributing the ability. I'll go over just a few more examples rapid fire in the interest of time. Firo. It's known as Onidrill in Japanese, which sounds like Onidrill. The pre-evolution is Spear-Ro, named after pointy stuff. It's known as the beak Pokemon and lives up to its name because the Pokedex constantly brings up its long, formidable beak that it uses to pierce and pluck. Prey and attackers are at risk because the long neck helps it leverage the powerful beak. Firo has an open Ability 2 slot for Piercer and can spam Drill Peck as stab and Drill Run for coverage. Phalanx. A phalanx of linked Spartan stereotypes. They have little shields and their horns act as the spear. Another Pokemon with a free Ability 2 slot. It has access to Mega Horn, Smart Strike, and Poison Jab. It's a shame the only fighting type piercing move is stuck on Surfetch, but at least close combat is better and boosted 50% by stab. Still, Phalanx would love to stack two 50% boosts. Escavalier. Just look at it. This escargot cavalier has piercing, jousting looking lances built into its design. Clearly the French think so, as it is called Lansago en français. It learns Fell Stinger, Mega Horn, Poison Jab, Smart Strike, Drill Run, and even had Twin Needle when the move existed for single player. The only hang-up is that all the ability slots are taken for it. Swarm, Shell Armor, and Overcoat are Ability 1, Ability 2, and Hidden Ability respectively. I like the idea of replacing Swarm with Piercer. That way Ability 1 is consistent maximization of damage, Ability 2 is crit negation for Nuzlocke and other challenge runs, and Hidden Ability is great for negating powder moves in singles and doubles. I like this flexibility and choice. Barracuda. The Barracuda that skewers. Its jaw is allegedly sharp as a spear and as strong as steel, so when it launches itself at 185 kilometers per hour, or 115 freedom units per hour, it's spearfishing. It's another Pokemon with a free ability slot 2 we can use, so that makes it easy. It can use Swift Swim if it somehow still needs to double its base 136 speed and rain, use this new ability to amplify piercing damage, or use Propeller Tail if redirection is troublesome for your doubles team. The moves need a little work though. Drill Run and Poison Jab are obviously great, and adding Smart Strike is a nice option, but this would really love to have a piercing water type move for stab. Stab Piercer Aqua Spear would be so gross but funny on something this fast. Alright, at this point you probably thoroughly get the point. It's a pretty simple and fun ability that easily slots into Pokemon, especially since many of them, surprisingly, had a blank Ability 2 slot. We could get some new piercing moves of different types to increase the coverage or give different effects. The creation of this ability inherently creates a new category of moves. After all, to boost piercing moves by 50%, there has to be a piercing move category to be boosted by an ability, right? This new move category opens up the possibility for another ability that negates piercing moves, similar to how Bulletproof negates bomb and ball moves. There's a lot of potential. Tell me in the comments what Pokemon you'd gift this piercing ability to, and the movesets or strategies you'd use. That's all I've got, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you some other time. Bye!